So when I was a kid, I always dreamed of having the superpower of actually having wings, and not the ability just to be able to fly and look down from over above, but to be able to, swoop and loop and, dive and, do all of the fun things that I like to do, but only with wings. Well, this week, it was the air show, and thank you to Jack Daniels and Staten and Greg Connell. I was able to do just that, although the wings were attached to a biplane, but I still got to fly and loop and swoop, and it was a good time for sure. Now it's time for the Todcast. Now we have to sing, Tony.
Can anyone hear that? No?
Yeah.
The sick and the lame. Welcome to the Todcast.
Yes, I'm Todd from GoodCleanFunLife.com.
I'm Tony Rousseau, no relation. All sorts of fun this week. Todd is on vacation, which is why we have no official score. There's no official score for this. And I'm on vacation, which is why I'm in the attic sweating like a maniac. But it's okay because I had plenty of gin to get like my face good and red. You know?
I feel like you're in space.
Yeah. Ow, I hit my head on the ceiling. Yeah. And do not adjust your screen. This is really how red I am, and I'm going to get redder. So we have all sorts of stuff. We had to take. Did we take last week off altogether?
Did we?
I can't recall. I feel like we did. But anyway, we're not taking this week off, which is what's important. Only because I got screwed at my job. He got screwed at his. Well, screwed at his job is not the way to ever put his. But point is, things didn't work out last week. But we're back and we're ready to go. And let's talk about the air show because you were out. Did you go up in an airplane?
We did. I had the opportunity, and it was one of those funny things where I had made a comment. We were already planning on doing stuff for Bacardi and for Jack Daniels. They have 3 Reliable Churchill. They sponsor a couple launch parties, they called them. So we were already going to be doing that. Having the opportunity to go up in an airplane, yes, because we talked about this. You mentioned it's like, right. Oh, you could have gone up in the jet, but you had to be at Wallops Island at 4:30 in the morning or whatever.
With my winter coat, it wasn't the jet. I would have gone for the jet. I had to go drive up with the air jumpers, so I would have just been sitting in an airplane at 20 degrees. Yeah, and that's no fun.
Well, so I went out. I had the opportunity. I got the call late Wednesday night before things were going down. It's like, all right, we're going to send somebody up and into one of the aerobatic planes. And I'm like, all right, that sounds great. I would, it's not something, because I realized that after all this happened, like I said in the story, when I was a kid, I used to dream, like that was like the superpower. I wanted to actually have wings, not just be like able to Superman fly, but to have wings. And I don't know what there was about that, but but I'd kind of forgotten that, and I got the opportunity. I'm like, yeah, of course I'll do it.
Right.
And it got pushed off a little bit because of weather, and then it came back around on Friday, and Natalie wasn't really keen on me going. She was a little bit concerned, as she is, because she loves me. But it was a great experience, and the best part of it was, well, first of all, there was the whole aspect of, I started to get concerned that I wasn't concerned about going up in an aerobatic airplane.
Right.
Like, it was like, all right, this is going to happen. This is just something that's going to happen, and I was excited for it. I'm like, wait, everybody's like, oh, what did you have for lunch that day, and all of this, and that just wasn't on my mind, and it turned out it was perfect.
Well, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
My favorite part was the guy strapping me in. You put on this old like World War II looking parachute for code or something, and then you get a harness strap here, cross around, this loop goes through that, and like a very complicated to put it all together. And then he goes, now if we have to get out real quick, you just throw this lever and this lever, and you can get out. I'm like, in what scenario do we have to get out real quick? Because I'm already strapped down. I'm in the plane, and now you bring up if we have to get out real quick. So
yeah, well, for instance, it might catch fire, right? And that's the thing that yeah, the length doesn't matter a lot because you're not going to be pulling a whole lot of G's. But the reason you're not going to be pulling a whole lot of G's is you're in a vintage airplane, And just because it's over now, I would have loved to have said this to you last week to get to scare you a little bit. But like, would you take I don't know, let's say a Model A Ford cross country, just get in the car and go, right? Because you trust that technology from the last century to be fine still.
Yeah, of course.
Well, but go ahead.
Here's the thing: is this wasn't. I don't think that it was necessarily a vintage plane. It was a biplane, and it was a Pitts Model 12. And there wasn't a whole lot to it. But this was more. This wasn't like going up in a Model 4. This was more like going up in a kit car that some guy, this guy Greg, who's awesome, built in his spare time. He's an HVAC man, full time, but he built an airplane, and there's not much to it, but it's very shiny, and it definitely works very well. But it was basically, a big ass engine, 2 seats strapped behind it, and a couple wings or something like that.
I'm sorry, what was Bill's last name?
Greg Connell.
Oh, all right. I thought you said Bill. Only because there are guys, and he's like on the air show circuit. Then he goes around and does these shows, and it's just, if I were still writing blogs, which I probably won't, but if I were, or if you feel like it, there are people who go around to have barbecues in the they do barbecue things. People all have these like kooky hobbies where like, I'm going to devote my life to making barbecue sauce and going to different events and having barbecue sauce contests. And some people I'm going to devote every weekend of my life to making an airplane and flying it upside down to see if I'm the best at flying it upside down.
Right. Yeah. Well, and what's amazing too is the fans that come out. So I met the guy, and then we spent some time together with at the Jack Daniels party the next day.
Uh-huh.
And what's amazing is there are fans, and the air show fans are kind of, if you can imagine, and I'm going to say this as offensively as possible.
Okay.
They're like the bastard cousins of NASCAR fans.
If NASCAR fans if NASCAR fans and Robot Wars fans had a baby.
Yes, that's perfect. And because he had a bunch of people that came up, he was like, "Hey, are you Greg?" And people were excited to see. It's a whole different level of rock star.
It never ceases to amaze me how. Yes, the only thing more interesting than the hobbyists are the hobbyist fans. Where like they're like into it. There are people. If there's something that more than one person does on the weekend to entertain themselves, there are people who chart and argue about how well they do
it. Right.
And so there are, I guess, air show nerds is what you'd call them.
Yeah. Well, and along with the air show, we're focused on you right now. How long have you been in outer space?
I've been in outer space for just a couple of days now. No, I am in my attic. My daughter's home from college. Actually, no, my daughter graduated college. And she's teaching in Wilmington. And it's an AmeriCorps job. And so, as an AmeriCorps job, it is 11 months long. So they actually, even though her house is there, she's not allowed to stay in it during July or June rather. Now her stuff is there. but she doesn't get a paycheck, so she can't buy any food to be there. So she comes here where there's food and people who will help her. And then we're getting ready to tear out all of the plaster from our downstairs, which as a former construction guy, that's just a joy in the middle of July.
It's great for your computers and electronic equipment as well.
Exactly, which is why I am upstairs to try and keep my things safe. But it is very, very hot up here. I don't mind the heat so much. My house doesn't have air conditioning. I'm not nuts about air conditioning. It makes me a little, sinusal or whatever you'd call it. But yeah, but it's freaking hot. It's hot and I'm sweating. And of course, like I said, I always like to have a little glass of gin to start the show. Sometimes the gin lasts during most of the show. Today it didn't last during the phone call. It was gone. And I know that they're not a sponsor, but if you ever want them to be, Bombay East. Have you had the Bombay East gin?
I have not. Is it good?
I don't know if anyone's innovated gin in the last 200 or 300 years, but this is exquisite. It is just exquisite gin. I mean, you almost ruin it with an ice cube. It's gin, so you have to have it cold. I keep it in the freezer. Sometimes I put it in an ice cube. But Bombay East, get it, try it. It's
Bombay East.
It's really complex, yeah.
I've been a fan of Henrik's.
Yes, that's another one that's really nice and interesting. That's got the cucumber and it's fresh. And this is spicy. This has got lemongrass and peppercorns, and it tastes like Indian gin. It tastes like gin in India.
Wow.
Yeah.
I like all of those things.
Oh yeah, no, it's excellent if you get the chance to drink it. And speaking of drinking it,
yeah,
why not? How's that for ham-fisted sip?
I like it.
Got a little good news this week. Someone has contracted me to write a book about beer on the Eastern Shore, which is incredibly exciting. Go ahead.
I said that's awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Take the moment to
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. I just real quick, I'll tell the story. I'm going to write about the story, and I'm probably going to try to do some as I'm writing the book, blogs about writing the book. But I got a call from the publisher, from the History Press, who eventually published it, and they said to me, it was a message. It was a phone message. It said, "Hi, I'm so and so at the History Press. Give me a call." And so I called a friend of mine who's an author at the History Press, who's written for them before, because I had asked them if they would publish my Burley Oak book,
right,
which I've been working on for the last 3 years. And this friend of mine is familiar with the Burley Oak book, and she said, they're not going to publish that book. She's like, they could publish it, but that's not what they do. The Burley Oak book is 130,000 words long. This company usually publishes books that are about 30,000 words long. So They called and they said, can you cut it? And I'm like, nah. But the day before, I had spoken with my friend who'd written for them before, and she said, have an alternate proposal in your head. So when they call and they say, can you change your book? If you don't want to change it, you can say, no, but I can write this book. So that's exactly what it was. Exactly as my friend told me. I owe her huge for that because I was totally ready.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I might have just panicked and said, no, I'm not cutting my book. Goodbye.
Yeah.
So,
right.
But instead, I'm like, yes, I can write History of the Eastern Shore. Now, I have a degree in history as well as in philosophy from Salisbury University. And one of the things you have to do to get a degree in history is you have to write 4 major papers. And one of my major papers was the development of taverns in Maryland. So because I have everything I've ever written someplace, I had that paper handy, and when the publisher called, I said, this is what I can do. I can tell you what it was like in 1600. In 1600, there were 4 taverns that were allowed to remain open. The rest were all forced to close. I told her the story, and I said, and then I'll tie it to what I'll call the 4 pioneering breweries of Maryland's Eastern Shore, which would be Eastern Shore Brewing in St. Michael's, Evolution Brewing in Salisbury, Burley Oak Brewing in Berlin, and what's the 4th one?
You forgot the 4th one last time we were talking.
And the 4th one.
And the 4th one. You said it was like Evo Twist.
Real Ale Revival. Real Ale Revival in Cambridge, which is where I went this weekend to take some shots, to take some test shots to make sure that they were happy with our photography or photographical capabilities, and also to go to Castle Haven. And that's what I want to just quick tell the Castle Haven story because it's awesome. This guy opened one of the first taverns in Maryland and in the country in 1670 something. No, 1660 something in Castle Haven, which is this place just outside of Cambridge. And I found it, and no one else knows it was there. It's like kind of my contribution to United States history. And so I drove out there, and this is the difference between not the difference between my wife and I, but my wife comes with me because she does the photography, and we were out there to get some photos and whatnot. And we get to the gate. It says Castle Haven, 1730 is when they built the mansion house. But wow. there was a little crappy ferry and tavern out on a spit of land back in the late 1600s. And so it says no trespassing. It's got like an electronic gate, and it's like punch in the code. But because the columns were put up in 1790, they didn't hold the electronic gate, so the electronic gate was propped open. I'm like, all right, well, let's just go in. Because like, it says no trespassing. I'm like, yeah, let's go in.
I'm a journalist.
Yeah, exactly, and that's the thing. I have no trespassing fear. I have lots of other fears, but like just walking into a place, that's not one of them. And so we went in, and there was a caretaker there, and I talked to the caretaker, and he didn't let me shoot the house, and I don't blame him. But he may help me, but he told me lots of stories about the place, and then he put me in touch with some of the old-timers who remember what it was like back in the 60s. That's the 1960s. But at least it's 300 years instead of a 400-year difference. And we asked him if we could just go turn around in the big driveway, which is right down where the tavern was. And I got goosebumpy. It was just, I wrote about this maybe 10 years ago, maybe 11 years ago. I've been meaning to go for more than a decade to see the place where this tavern was. And what's cool about it, and what I hope to bring out in the book, is that there were people who said, we don't need taverns for drinking. We need taverns because taverns make good towns. Huh. And that's going to be the angle of my book. Taverns make good towns. And then I'll talk to the guys at Real Ale Revival. I'll talk to the guys at Evo and to the guys at St. Michael's at Eastern Shore Brewing. And I've got everything I need from Brian. But hopefully we'll have plenty of photos. The publisher, there are two people who publish these books. One does kind of like crappy books and one does pretty books. This is a very pretty book. If you get a chance to look it up, Beer in Baltimore. Beautiful, beautiful shots. They really like photography. And so I think I'm gonna stand out. They're very excited. They saw the photos that we took in Cambridge, and they're excited to have us. We're excited to be there.
That's awesome. And plus, it sounds like a place in, from like Castle Rock or something like that from Game of Thrones.
Yes, Castle Haven. It very much is very 16. I saw. I can't remember your daughter's name, but it's just because I've been drinking.
Oh, that was my sister-in-law. She has a podcast too. It's like photo bombing is one thing, but podcast bombing is a whole different level.
That's okay. Maybe you'll be able to get her back later on in the day. But anyway, yeah. So stay tuned for my book. Stay tuned for book news. If you follow us on gcfl.com, I was apologizing to Todd on the email. I'll apologize to the rest of you now that I've not been blogging recently. I've been researching my book recently. The thing is, I have everything from 1600 to 1730 and everything from 2008 to the present. So I just have to fill in that 360 years in the middle, and we'll be fine.
I mean, 360 years, that's just a little bit of fluff, right?
Yeah, well, you know what, and it really is because we didn't brew on the Eastern Shore we just started brewing. I mean, Eastern Shore Brewing in 2008 was the first Maryland brewery on this side of the bridge. But anyway, yeah, keep an eye out for it. I think we're going to call it Eastern Shore Beer Facts. It'll be short, it'll be sweet, but it'll be little fun stuff for the just to help promote the book before the book comes out. I don't have a title yet. They hate my title. I'm not good at titling things, so that was the one thing she said. She's like, "How married to you are the title?" And I'm like, "I figured you were going to write the title. I just put something there because it was a line that I had to fill out." But it'll probably be called Eastern Shore Beer, and then have some sort of catchy, markety kind of colon thing, like, you know.
I like it.
Yeah. So let's get quick ready to wind it up because we got a long day, and I might literally pass out from the heat. But what do we got coming up this week?
Well, this week, of course, the Dew Tour returns to Ocean City and Berlin. We're actually proud to be sponsors of Matt Dubb's art show out in the Berlin area this week. That will be happening Saturday nights. There's a lot of not this weekend, but the following, the 28th. This weekend, we'll just be returning from vacation and probably headed up to the Starboard to check out Kristen and the Noise on Sunday night, and get a little bit of that. And summer's here, and we're in the midst of things, so we're excited about it.
I'm sorry, I may have distracted you. There was a grasshopper of some sort right here on my microphone, and I wanted to take a picture of him. The other thing I wanted to ask you, though, is where's the Matt Dove show?
The Matt Dove show is going to be at the same place it was last year, at Troy Purnell's property, the chicken plant over in Berlin. It's actually right across the street from Burley Oak Brewery. So if you head to the brewery, you'll be able to find that, and you'll find details upcoming here on our website at goodcleanfunlife.com. And we'll be doing pictures and video and all that good stuff from there.
That's very, very, very cool. And then next week we'll have all sorts of more stuff. You'll have you won't have Dew Tour coverage yet, but you'll have some pregame stuff that you guys are going to be doing through the week. And hopefully I'll have some more information about the book. Hopefully I'll have my first post on GCFL, because that would be cool. But that's all I got for right now. How about you?
That's all I got.
Well, may Todd give you the sense to live in a small town.
We'll see you next week at Happy Hour. Is that how you're fading?
Yeah.